Alright, hi guys.
Wait, was that recording? Oh my god!
No, it wasn't, but it is now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I'm gonna read the first chapter of Dark Hearts to you. So pretty. Yeah, so just an FYI, if you are easily offended by foul language or sex, this book isn't for you, okay? Let's just put that out there.
Definitely, like, the F word. If you get offended, walk away now.
I mean, Jace works at a restaurant called WTF. What the fork? What, did you think we meant something else?
Yeah, I did, actually. Wait, no, now it's not gonna work because it would have been so funny because it would have been a surprise. You need to edit that whole part out.
I will, okay? I think I can. Maybe I can't. Who knows? Alright, chapter 1. Nova. Oh my god, I cannot talk. Nova. Jesus. This is already off to a great start. I dropped the book. Oh my god.
We're not even on, like, the first word.
I'm sorry.
We're literally on the point of view.
Oh my god. And my dead plant in the background. Actually, you can't really see it, but it's a dead plant. Need to throw that away.
These are gonna be like an hour of blueprint.
You know what? At least it'll be entertaining. Okay, chapter 1, Nova. I fucking hate weddings. Told you, can't be offended by language.
I feel you, girl.
Okay, chapter 1, Nova. I fucking hate weddings. I glance up in time to see my friend Jace drop down into the seat beside me. He fiddles with his tie, loosening it, and then undoing the top button of his white dress shirt. I never want that to be me, he continues, waving his fingers lazily to where our just married friends dance, their smiles blinding and their laughter nearly louder than the music. Allergic to love, I raise a brow. His top lip curls. No, it's just that love makes you weak. Look at them. They've willingly handed their heart to the other person, giving them permission to break it at any time. He shakes his head and rolls up his sleeves, revealing the intricate tattoos that snake around one forearm. It's not for me. He makes a face like something tastes bad. Can't say I don't agree with you, I mutter. He raises a brow. Really? You're a girl, so I can't believe you're not about to give me some spiel on true love and how love conquers everything. He pulls his cigarette pack out of his pocket and taps the box against the white tablecloth covered table. Oh my god.
Wait, they know? Oh wait, what? They know each other?
Yes, they're friends.
What?
Thank you for your commentary, Jordan.
I'm confused.
I sigh. I believed that once, but in my experience, it's not true. Love doesn't conquer everything, it destroys you instead.
You're
Jace
right.
looks at me seriously, and I swear it's like his eyes. Oh my god, I cannot read. Jace looks at me seriously, and I swear it's like his eyes see right through me. Huh? I repeat, what does that mean? He shrugs. Nothing. What? I prompt again. You're thinking something. He shrugs, and the motion stretches, the shirt tied across his shoulders. Just that you and I are so alike, it scares me sometimes. I smile at that, and he chuckles. I didn't think anything could possibly scare you. He slips the cigarette pack back into his pocket without ever grabbing one. He stands then and holds his hand out to me. Dance with me. You dance? I eye him. He grins, and I know I'm in trouble. Jace doesn't smile much, but when he does, it means trouble. I have sex. Dancing is practically the same thing. You just have your clothes on. I roll my eyes. He wiggles his fingers. Come on, little star, dance with me. I sigh, slipping my hand in his as I stand, and he guides me onto the dance floor. He towers above my short frame, and I
thought
place...
it was about to be like, I slid my hand in his pants.
Oh my god, I slid my hands in his pants, yeah. He probably wouldn't have minded.
Oh, dang.
Gonna knock my lamp off. Oh my god! This is gonna be like an hour-long bloopers reel. Are there ducks on your socks?
Yeah, aren't they so aesthetically pleasingly cute? Hashtag ad. Hashtag Tumblr. Hashtag Urban Outfitters.
Oh my gosh.
I actually got these at Forever 21 for like $1.
I sigh, slipping my hand in his as I stand, and he guides me onto the dance floor. He towers above my short frame, and I place my hands flat on his chest since I can't wrap them around his neck. Xander and Thea, who had a quickie wedding in Vegas, are now having this wedding so all of us could attend. A twirl around us. I don't know. What? Did I read that right? Xander and Thea, who had a quickie wedding in Vegas and are now having this wedding so all of us could attend, twirl around us. Yeah, that makes sense. Jace might mock them for what they have, but I can't help but feel a slight sting of jealousy. I thought I had that once, a love that was impenetrable and everlasting. I was young, though, and so naive. Jace's hands cup the small of my waist, and he moves us effortlessly around the dance floor. There's only a handful of people dancing, but everyone seems to be having a good time. Xander and Thea chose to keep the wedding small and only had their closest family and friends come. You actually can dance, I comment, unable to hide the surprise in my voice. Jace chuckles. Confession. I took dance lessons as a kid. My eyes widen and nearly pop out of my head. Dance lessons? Confession. I took ballet for 5 days before quitting, much to the dismay of my parents. I have no rhythm, I whisper like it's some sort of secret. Jace's lips quirk in a smile. I've been staying with him since the beginning of summer. I didn't want to head home back to Texas in that godforsaken small town, and Jace's roommate happened to be moving out, so it worked out perfectly. Since then, we've developed a game we've simply dubbed Confession. That's all it is, a confession, something we've never shared with another person, but we've chosen to share with each other. Some of our confessions are silly and others are more serious. I love all of them. Each one gives me one small piece of the puzzle that is Jason Kensington. You're not so bad. And you're a liar, I say, stepping on his toes. He doesn't comment on my clumsiness and moves us easily around the dance floor. I'm light enough that he can hold me and guide me while I do nothing. The song ends and bleeds into another. I expect him to stop, but he keeps going. We dance to 3 more songs before returning to the table. I pick up my camera and take a few photos of the bride and groom while they're oblivious. There's something about candid photos that leave a more lasting mark in your memory than something posed, so I want to make sure they have plenty of those. Xander and Thea had tasked Ray, another friend of ours, and me, with taking photos at the wedding. Ray and I are both going to college for photography. I think they asked both of us to take photos because they didn't want either of us to feel bad for not being chosen. I would have been fine if they only went with Ray, though. Weddings aren't my thing. Don't get me wrong. I knew I could and would get some amazing shots, but it wasn't my passion. Ray liked to take photos of everything, but me, I preferred to make something into something else. Conceptual photography was my go-to, but lately something else was catching my eye and getting my wheels turning. What?
Is he currently digging a hole to China?
Oh my god.
Sorry about the interruption.
Conceptual photography was my go-to, but lately something else was catching my eye and getting my wheels turning. Jace. God, I itched to photograph him. He made the most mundane things look like the most exciting thing ever. Like every morning when he drank his coffee and read the newspaper, still wearing his glasses since he never put his contacts in first thing. He fascinates me. I can't think of any other 23-year-old guy who still reads a physical newspaper, let alone any kind of newspaper. I'm sure if I asked him, he'd let me. Jace isn't a shy guy, but he is my best friend, and I don't want to make things weird. I haven't had a friend like him in a long time, and I'm not willing to mess with what we have for a few photos. Click, click, click. The sound of the shutter on my camera is music to my ears. I feel that love is an understatement for what I feel for photography. It is my art, my life, my escape, my everything. Without it, I can't breathe. After I've taken a million photos of Xander and Thea, I move on to taking pictures of the cake and decor. I focus on the little things, zooming in on the turquoise flowers frosted on the cake and the crisp lines of the napkins folded on the table. I decide to take a break and head back to the table Jace occupies. He sits with his legs taking up as much space as humanly possible. He's now ditched his tie completely, and it sits as a crumpled gray pile on the table. He lifts his gaze to me as I place my Canon 70D on the table. You look like you could use a drink, he comments. I laugh and push my magenta-colored hair away from my eyes. Is that your way of saying you need a drink? His green eyes twinkle. Yes, I'll be back. He hops up and heads to the bar. I kick my heels off beneath the table and swear my feet sing hallelujah at being free of those death traps. Thea Montgomery, Kincaid now, I correct myself, thinks there's something wrong with you if you don't wear heels. But I think she's the one that's not okay in the head because those things are painful. I lift one aching foot to rest on my knee and begin massaging it. Jace returns and places a beer in front of me before taking his seat again. Feet hurt, he asks. Before I can answer, he grabs my legs and tugs my feet into his lap. He begins massaging the arch of my right foot before I can protest, and I nearly moan because, oh my god, that feels amazing. He rubs with expert precision, and I wonder where he learned to do it. My head lolls back and my eyes close. Feels good? I nod and don't open my eyes. I'm never wearing heels again, I mumble. He moves to the other foot, and I suppress another moan. On second thought, maybe I should wear heels every day if it means you'll rub my feet. He chuckles, and the sound is warm and husky and perfectly Jace. He finishes rubbing my feet, and I reluctantly drop them to the ground. It's time for the bouquet toss, someone calls out. I groan. Jace nudges my shoulder and waggles his brows. Don't you want to catch the bouquet? Yeah, and be labeled as the next one to get married? No thanks. Come on, he coaxes. It'll be fun. Are you going to be part of the garter toss? I challenge. He tilts his head and smirks. Of course. I sigh. Fine, I'll do it. I place my hands on the table and push up as I stand. I don't bother putting my heels back on. I'm burning those things first thing tomorrow morning. It's a small group for the bouquet toss since the wedding was so intimate. I turn around and point at Jace and then my camera. Take photos, I mouth. Ray is participating too, and I want to make sure there's at least one photo of this for Thea and Xander to look back on. Jace might not be a photographer, but I think he can manage at least 1 or 2 photos. Me, he points to himself. Yes, you. I point again, and he picks up my camera, looking at it stupidly. It's that button, right? Whack. The bouquet hits me right in the back of the head. I turn around and glare at the offending flowers now lying pathetically on the ground. Jace laughs in the background, along with a few other people. Thea turns around from her perch, confused by the laughter. Who got them? She asks. Apparently Nova. Ray bends and picks them up and hands them to me. My lip curls in disgust. I didn't want to catch them, and I would have sidestepped it if I'd been turned that way. Instead, I was arguing with Jace over taking a photo, and he didn't even get one. Don't look so disgusted, Ray laughs. It's funny. I sigh and shrug. It's only a silly tradition, after all. It means nothing. I force a smile and say, yeah, it is pretty funny. Thea heads over to us, smiling from ear to ear. I don't think I've ever seen her happier. They didn't hurt you, did they? She asks, concerned. I shake my head. They're flowers. They can't do much damage. She rests her arm casually on my shoulder and leans into me. I didn't mean to hit you in the head with them. It's okay. I wave away her concern. You weren't even looking where you were throwing. It's my own fault. I was trying to get Jace to take a picture of it, and he was being an idiot. Hey, I take offense to that, he remarks, striding over to us with my camera in hand. What would you prefer? Lovable, he grins and holds out my camera. I trade him the flowers, and he looks at them like they're diseased. Here, you want these back? He holds them out to Thea. She rolls her eyes as Xander comes up behind her, fitting his hands around her waist. Nova caught them. They're hers now. Jace looks at the flowers again and then me. Does this mean you're getting married next? I gag. Never. He chuckles, and I lift my camera to get a shot of Xander's hand around her waist. Then another to him of him dipping his head into the crook of her neck. Cade joins our group, standing next to Ray with a smile on his face. She leans into him, and I don't think she even realizes she does it. Come on, Xander tugs on Thea's waist. Garter time. Oh no, she laughs as he drags her away. I don't like the look in your eye. I must admit, she's right. Xander has a mischievous glint in his eye that promises trouble. He leads her to the chair that someone already placed in the center of the dance floor. The guys at the wedding all reluctantly head that way and gather around the bride and groom. Ray grabs her camera, and the two of us start snapping photos. I can't help but get one of the irritated expression on Jace's face. He looks absolutely disgusted to have to be standing there. Payback's a bitch. Are you going to give me a lap dance first? Thea asks as Xander gives her a slight push into the chair. He bends forward so they're eye level. You want me to dance, sweetheart? I want you to take your clothes off. Laughter explodes out of him. I love you, he says when he regains control of himself. He kneels on the floor then and lifts all the layers of tulle of her dress and dives under. Her eyes widen in surprise, and we all try not to laugh, but it's hard not to when it looks like Xander is, well... His head moves around and then back down, and he comes away with the garter belt between his teeth, and Thea's cheeks successfully a bright red color. She doesn't get embarrassed much, so it's nice to see her feathers get ruffled. Xander tosses the garter belt, and we all watch to see who catches it. Fuck me. I can't control my laughter at seeing Jace clutching the garter belt. Here, take it. He tries to hand it to Cade. Cade refuses it and shakes his head. Nah, man, it's all yours. Jace dangles the garter belt from his finger and looks right at me. I snap a picture, and then a few more as he flicks it at me. I manage to get a shot of it flying through the air. Perfection. I bend and pick the garter belt up off the floor and carry it back over to him. If I have to keep the flowers, then you have to keep this. He grabs it and crumples it in his fist before shoving it in his pocket. Traditions are silly, he mutters, but I can tell he's secretly amused by the whole thing. After all, the irony of me catching the bouquet and him the garter belt is laughable. Both of us are the ones most likely to never get married. When are we getting cake? He calls out to Xander and Thea, who are completely lost in one another again. Thea glances over and then up at Xander. Want to cut the cake? He shrugs. Sure. Cake's happening now, she calls over to Jace. Confession, Jace whispers. I love cake. I watch as he turns and heads back to the table he was sitting at before. I notice one of the girls Thea has class with eyeing him, and I'm not surprised when she moves from her table over to his to sit beside him. He smiles and leans into her when she says something. I sigh and avert my eyes. I have pictures to take, and watching Jace flirt is not part of that job. Xander and Thea cut into the cake, and I'm not surprised when she nails him right in the face with the cake. Xander ends up chasing after her to get her back, and she makes it all the way to the other side of the dance floor before he catches her. He loops one arm around her waist and swings her around. His other hand with the cake comes toward her mouth. She pleads with him not to do it, but he doesn't listen, and she gets a face full of cake. They both can't contain their laughter. Look at us, Thea laughs. We look ridiculous. He reaches up and tenderly clears her face of cake. Ridiculous is good. Does this mean we can eat the cake now? I jump to the sound of Jace's voice right by my ear. Jesus, where'd you come from? He raises a brow and points to the table. I notice the girl is gone. I want some cake. Let me guess, you want a middle piece too. Well, it's a circle, so it doesn't really matter, he shrugs. I glance back at Xander and Thea, who are now cleaning their faces with napkins. The caterer is already cutting the cake and placing slices on plates. Looks like your cake is ready, I point out. Jace rubs his hands together and licks his lips. Cake, he hums. You want a piece? Sure. He heads off to get the cake, and I head back to our table. My heels are still on the ground, and I kick them out of my way. Heels are the work of the devil, I'm sure of it. Jace returns a moment later and hands me my slice of cake with a flourish. It's chocolate and covered in icing, and the more icing the better, in my opinion. He pulls out his chair and plops into it. I notice he has 2 slices of cake on his plate, and he's already eaten half of one. This is so good, he shovels a forkful into his mouth. I stifle a laugh. I don't think I've ever seen Jace this animated over anything ever, except maybe his music, and even then he's a little more subdued than he is now. It is a good cake, though. He finishes his one slice and starts in on the second. I've barely made a dent in mine. When is this thing over? He asks after he swallows his next bite. It's a wedding. It could last until the end of time. Fuck me, he mutters. Oh, honey, I'd love to, someone says, but when I look around, the only person I see is a little old lady that's maybe 80, who I think is an aunt of Xander. She notices me looking and winks. Oh. I quickly divert my gaze back to my plate. Thankfully, it doesn't last until the end of time, and after another hour, everyone starts to disperse. Jace and I head to his car together. I have a car of my own, but since we live together now, we carpool a lot. It's easier that way. He drives an old black Chevy truck. It looks brand new, though, with the way it shines, and the engine doesn't sound ancient. The only thing I have against it is the stench of cigarette smoke that clings to the interior. None of our friends notice us leaving together, for which I'm thankful. I haven't told Ray and Thea that I'm living with Jace, and as far as I know, he hasn't told the guys either. It's not that I don't want them to know I'm living with Jace, it's that I don't want them to know that I'm living with Jace. I know Thea and Ray will make a big deal out of it. They'll think Jace and I are secretly dating or simply hooking up, and they'll pester me endlessly, and that's not it at all. Ray and Thea are my friends. Jace, he's my best friend. From the moment we were introduced to each other, it's like some part of me woke up and said, hello, I know you. We're so similar and we just click. He's easier to talk to than them, and he gets me. Most people don't get me. They see what I want them to see, but not Jace. He sees it all. Still haven't told them. See? He reads my mind. I turn away from the truck window and look at him. It's almost dark now, and his gaze is zeroed in on the road. No, I admit. Why? He asks. I shrug. No reason, he grants. If that was the case, then you would have told them. I sigh. I don't need everyone to know all of my business. But it's okay for me to know all of your business, he counters. You're different. Ah, I see. He turns away with a little smirk. Oh, you do, huh? It's because I'm your favorite. I laugh and look out the window at the moon illuminating the sky. I can't argue with you there. I am pretty great. Sobering, he says. Seriously, though, why haven't you told them? Because they'll think it's more than what it is, I admit. I'd rather avoid their pestering. Why haven't you told the guys? Same reason. We're too alike, I mutter. He grabs a cigarette and lights it at the next stoplight. We're not far from his apartment. I still can't seem to think of it as mine, too. Probably because he won't let me pay rent. Well, he takes the checks, but he never actually cashes them. I continue to write them, figuring if he needs the money, he'll eventually cash some of them. The cab of the truck grows quiet. Me, lost in my thoughts, and him, lost in his cigarette, I guess. Though he always gets this disgusted look on his face when he smokes, almost like he doesn't truly like them. He blows out a puff of smoke toward his open window. When we arrive at the apartment, he parks on the street behind my beat-up Toyota Corolla. Neither of us moves immediately to get out of the car. Darkness has descended completely upon the city, and the barest hint of moonlight peeks out between the buildings. Streetlights illuminate the cab of the truck, bathing Jace's face in a white glow, making him look almost ghostly. He extinguishes his cigarette and tosses it out the open window before rolling it up. I put my hand on the door handle and move to open the door, but he stops me. Wait, he pleads, grabbing my arm. I glance back at him. Sit here for a minute. I release the door and straighten in my seat. He rubs his fingers over his lips, a telltale sign he's thinking deeply. I notice he does it a lot when he's writing songs, and he ends up with smudges all over his face. Confession, he starts, and I sit quietly waiting. This is my favorite moment of the day, the time when the sun has completely descended and the night takes reign. Night, he muses, a smile tugging at his lips. The dark and misunderstood beast. People are afraid of the dark, but not the light. But it's the light they should fear. The light is where the real monsters are. He's right. The real monsters are right in front of us, and we never even notice it. They slip by unnoticed, masquerading as normal people, but they can't mask their true colors for long. The evil always slips through in the end. He taps his thumb against the steering wheel, staring down the street. It's not late, so several people are milling around and darting in and out of the stores and restaurants that line the street. A few more minutes of quiet pass before he reaches for his door. I guess we better head in, he says, somewhat reluctantly. I nod and follow suit. The apartment is an old warehouse that some developer came in and renovated, so it's nice with a lot of old and quirky touches like exposed metal beams and concrete floors on the main level. Jace's apartment is on the 4th floor, and the view is nice. It's not the best since it's not a tall building, but it's good enough. It overlooks the park on the block behind us. We take the elevator in silence. It's not late, but I think we're both tired regardless. Weddings are exhausting. When the doors slide open, I follow him down the hall to the apartment door. He slips his key inside the knob and turns, swishing his arm in a flourish. I laugh and head in first, flicking on the light. His apartment walls are all white except one that's black because it's actually chalkboard paint. That wall is currently covered in graffiti from our friends. I think Thea is the one who drew fuck really big and then drew flowers in the bubble letters. The rest of the apartment is a mix of black, white, and gray. When I moved in, Jace told me I could add some things of my own as long as it wasn't too girly. But I reminded him that there's nothing girly about me at all, and the way he had it suited me fine. I'm not fussy. I enjoy the minimalist look. I drop my shoes on the floor and collapse on the couch face first. Wake me never. He chuckles, and I turn my head, watching him step onto the platform behind the couch where his mattress sits. There's only one bedroom closed off from the rest of the apartment, which belonged to his roommate and has since become mine. It's small, more like a closet, but it's a room, and that's all that matters to me. He unbuttons his shirt and drops it on the bed. I hastily look away. I force myself to sit up and head over to the bathroom, closing the door behind me. I shower quickly, and as the colored water swirls down the drain, I decide I'm going to dye my hair again tomorrow. It's time for a new color. This one's becoming stale. I step out and wrap the fluffy gray towel around my body before wiping the condensation from the mirror. My reflection stares back at me, the same person I've seen every day for my entire life, minus the ever-changing hair color. I tilt my head to the side, and my reflection follows suit. Hate. That's what I used to feel when I looked at myself. Now I feel numb, and I don't know which is worse, hating yourself or not caring anymore. With a sigh, I open the door and step outside. The cooler air feels like heaven against my skin. I look up and see Jay sitting in his bed. His chest is bare, the sheets pulled at his waist, his glasses are perched on his nose, and he's reading. The first thing he said when I moved in was, "Tell anyone I read and you're out of here. I have to keep my cool factor." I didn't tell him, but the fact that he reads makes him infinitely cooler in my eyes. After all, what's hotter than a guy that reads? Not that I think Jace is hot. "Night," he says without looking up from his book. "Good night," I mumble back, ducking my head so my damp magenta-colored strands of hair hide my face as I scurry across the hall to my room. I swear I can feel his eyes on me, but when I look back before I close my door, his eyes are once more on his book, and I can't be sure if he was really looking.
Oh my god, where's Izzy?
Or if I simply wanted him to look. And that is the end of chapter 1, and I've got to go because apparently the hedgehog's missing. Okay, bye.